way to go.
I'm here in Ohio with Helen Gray. She's giving us a tour of her place. We're actually next to the brooders. Can you talk about these, Helen? Tell us the sizes.
This is a 4x8 brooder. It has 1/2x1 wire on the top and sides and 1/2-inch wire on the bottom. And these ponds are concrete mixing pans. And my husband put a small utility tub drain. It's got a drain in it, so kind of dirty right now. And they have a ramp in them so that birds can get out of the water. If they can't get out, sometimes they will drown. So.
These ramps are really a pretty ingenious idea. It's 1x1 wire down here with looks like 1/2-inch by 1/2-inch, and then it's stapled in the back, so you can just swing that up to clean underneath it. And looks like it's plastic wire.
Yeah, that rubber.
Yep.
That rubber stuff. This light's on most of the time for these little baby Hottentots. And then there's some ring teal over there. There's a mother with some babies over there. How do I start my babies? I start them in the house in big plastic tubs, and I put a towel in the bottom, and I put a light on them, and I change that towel often, so they're in a sterile environment for the first like 2 weeks when they're in the house. They're in a sterile environment, and then I bring them outside and put them in those pens, and weather permitting. It has to be warm.
So, is there anything special you do for the ducklings, like for the mergansers, for like?
Yeah, Missouri, I use those little fountains, you know, the little red base and the plastic bottle. And I put Missouri food in that water. Just a little bit.
You don't use anything like mealworms or bloodworms or anything like that?
No live food. No live food. No, I refuse. If they can't eat the dry food, then... But I didn't have any trouble raising them. There wasn't any problem raising them. But I spend a lot of time with them too. Spend an awful lot of time with those birds, babying them.
So you raise all ducklings like that, whether it's
all of them in the house. Everybody's in the house.
So after a week or two, a couple weeks, they come out and leave.
Yeah, out here. Weather permitting. You know, if we got real cold, no, I don't bring them out. Missouri food. I feed Callenback pellet.
Okay.
And I feed another pellet that's made by Hanby, is the name of the food, Performance. And I also add a small amount of scratch, but Missouri. And I also use a little bit of sea duck, or diving duck, they're calling it now. But they get 5 different kinds of food. The breeders, this is breeder food here. This pen has rubber-coated wire buried in the ground. You can see a small portion of it right here. But it's buried in the ground, and I have that 1/2-inch run around there to stop raccoons from reaching through. And then nothing seems to dig under it so far, so.
Then you go up, it's 1x2 wire,
1x2.
electric fence.
Watch that, it's on. You can shut it off.
That's fine. That's fine.
You can shut it off.
It's an old style netting. It's a once-in-a-lifetime investment a lot of times.
Yeah, 30 years. The netting's been up 30 years. This whole pen has been up that long. And the ponds are made out of treated lumber.
You just go back in here and
This pen is 30 by 70, and it's been up 30 years. And we've had some trees that fell and damaged some of it at some point. In here I have 11 different species of birds. There's mandarins, wood ducks, hoodeds, vikel, shmew, bucklehead, Barrow's goldeneye, puna teal, green teal, shiloh, and I think that's it. Hottentots. I forgot the Hottentots. And I like birds that all get along, so I've chosen birds over the years that were compatible, you know. Some of them are pretty nasty at times, but it's short-lived, and they do well together. The netting has been up 30 years, and we have stainless steel cables that run from the center out to the post that kind of supports it when we get these wet, heavy snows. And when we get the wet, heavy snows, I'm on duty all night out here knocking snow off this net. It's never come down, it's never tore, but it's come close. It's come close to collapsing, I think. My water runs 24/7. In the wintertime, I don't have to put a heater in this pond. It stays open. The smaller ponds, I put stock tank heaters in them. This one and the other two over there.
And then can you just talk about this again? How does this set up here?
This has like what they call a slit drain. My husband made this. He bent this aluminum. He bent a piece of aluminum and then bent a trough in it. And then it has a drain, and I can wash this out. You know, I can hose it down, and it keeps this from being really muddy. Plus there's also a drain in here too. It seems to be the hardest thing to keep a pen dry, you know. There's always seems to be water. Plus this area is low, and you do get a lot of rain here. And it floods. I've had areas where this whole thing is flooded, totally flooded. These boxes my husband built for vikel teal, and I place them a lot of times in amongst the hosta lilies, but it keeps the bird up off the ground, and I think they like to see out, you know. They seem to prefer these over ground nest boxes. Pretty easy to build. These boxes, they're seen better days, but I think some of the boxes that you see on the market, sizes, I think they're way too deep. That's what I think. I think they're way too deep. And when a bird has a lot of eggs and it jumps in the box, then you get broken eggs when it has to drop down. That's my experience with them. They just seem like they don't need that 24-inch deep box. You know?
So most of the birds you got here are raised box cavity nesters.
Yes. Yes.
Do you ever have anything nest in the grass or in the hospitals or anything like that?
No, never.
Just the one child that nests in the shed there.
Yeah, she goes inside there. She's smart, you know.
So where are your Hottentots nesting? Are they also nesting in raised boxes, or?
The one Hottentot nested in that box right there.
The raised box?
Yeah, that's the one that has 6 there, then 6 babies came out of that.
That's interesting because we've never had a raised box.
Really?
Ever? No.
Yeah. See, this hole's a little smaller, so nobody can get in there and bother her. And another one had some in there that was last year. These are young bird pens. All my babies go in here. Once they start to feather out pretty good, they can go into these pens. And they do fight. If I put mixed breeds in here, you know, I could put some in and they've been there a week or 2 weeks. They get a little nasty with each other, but for the most part, they get along and I don't have to worry too much about them.
So on your buffle heads and your golden eyes and stuff like that, do you ever have issues with breast feathers or?
Yes, yeah. I think that's, even though I have sand in there, you see, I just put a ton of sand in here.
That seems like it's just a struggle that most people have with them.
It is.
These little shelves here, what are they something for the birds to sit up on?
This one is purposely to keep them from digging and making a hole under the fence. Keeps them away from where the water's going out. That one we just put up because they like to sit on this one, and I told him, I said, let's build something and see if they'll use it. I'll see you.
So, because, I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know, because golden eyes and stuff like that tend to get bad breast feathers.
Golden eye will sit up
if
on
they're sitting on there, you got less of a chance of them.
Closer to the ground, the better. They like this one better than they like that one.
But keeping them off the ground might stop them from getting.
I think it could help.
Yep.
Keep them dry.
Yeah.
Let the feathers dry out. Yeah. Even though there's sand in here.
And that's the funny thing, like a lot of the, you know, surface feeding ducks we don't think of as perching. You know, will perch if they have opportunities.
They do. Yeah. I have litters set up on top of these boxes all the time. Fly up there. This pen had the same greenery in it, hanging like that one. The wood ducks annihilated it. It was beautiful like that. They got up in there when they could fly. Once they could fly, they got in there, the underins and wood ducks, and they just annihilated the whole thing. But the divers don't bother it. You know, they don't have an issue with that hanging in there.
You know, the funny thing though is the male hoodeds have been available for the past several years. You can't find females anywhere, which is a change for the past 40 years. It was always the opposite.
Wow.
It's always what you need you can't get.
That's true.
The bird you're looking for, everybody else is looking